The first thing you should know is that I never believed in ghosts. I'm telling you this now so you understand that what happened to me wasn't filtered through the lens of someone eager to find the supernatural lurking in every shadow. I am, a rational person. I believe in what I can see, touch, and verify, or at least I did. It started 3 nights ago when my parents left for their anniversary trip to Cancun. I'm 19, home from college for summer break, perfectly capable of being alone for 5 days. They'd stocked the fridge, left emergency numbers on the kitchen whiteboard, and Dad had checked every lock twice before they pulled out of the driveway. "Text us when you go to bed," Mom had called through the car window. I'd rolled my eyes but waved as they drove away, already planning my perfectly ordinary solo activities, binge-watching shows they'd hate, ordering pizza instead of cooking, staying up late scrolling through social media. Normal stuff. The first 2 days were exactly that, blissfully uneventful. I slept until noon, ate cereal for lunch, and had a pizza delivered for dinner. I texted friends, watched movies, and wandered around in my pajamas. The novelty of having the house to myself was pleasant, but not particularly exciting. On the third night, last night, I decided to take a bath. Our house is pretty old, built in the 1930s, with those deep, clawfoot tubs that are perfect for soaking. I filled it with hot water, added some of my mom's expensive bath salts, sorry mom, and settled in with my phone propped safely on the closed toilet lid, playing an episode of some true crime podcast. The house creaked and settled around me as it always did. Those familiar sounds had never bothered me before. They were just part of living in an older home. I must have dozed off a little, because the next thing I remember is jerking awake as my phone switched to a new episode. That's when I noticed the water had gone cold. And something else. The bathroom looked different. Not in any way I could immediately identify, but something was off. The shower curtain hung exactly as it had before. The sink hadn't moved. My clothes were still piled on the floor, but something had changed. I climbed out, dried off, and wrapped myself in my robe. That's when I realized what was different. The bathroom mirror was fogged up, normal after a hot bath, but there was a perfect handprint in the center of it. A handprint that was far too large to be mine. I froze, staring at it. My logical brain immediately started making excuses. It must have been there from earlier. Maybe Dad had left it before they departed. Maybe the fog was just uneven. But I knew, with absolute certainty, that it hadn't been there when I'd entered the bathroom. I quickly wiped it away with my towel, heart hammering. Then I got dressed, trying to laugh at myself for being spooked by something so trivial. Houses with other people make noises. Houses, when you're alone, make you imagine things. That's all it was. I went downstairs to make some tea, hoping it would calm my nerves. Our kitchen is at the back of the house, overlooking the yard. It was fully dark outside now, and when I flipped on the kitchen light, all I could see in the window was my own reflection against the blackness beyond. As I waited for the kettle to boil, I scrolled through TikTok, trying to distract myself. The kettle clicked off. I poured the water over a tea bag and carried the mug to the living room. I just settled on the couch when the TV turned on by itself. Not to a channel, just static. Loud, hissing static that filled the room so suddenly I spilled hot tea on my hand. I lunged for the remote, but it wasn't on the coffee table where I normally left it. The static seemed to grow louder, and within it, I could almost hear patterns. Like when you stare at clouds and start to see shapes. I was starting to hear something like words buried in the white noise. I ran to the TV and hit the power button. Nothing happened. I pressed it again, harder, then resorted to unplugging the entire thing from the wall. The screen went black, and the sudden silence felt as startling as the noise had been. "Circuit breaker probably tripped," I said aloud, needing to hear a human voice, even if it was just my own. The sound was thin and unconvincing in the quiet house. I decided to check the circuit box in the basement. In retrospect, this was the horror movie moment where everyone watching would be screaming, "Don't go down there." But real life isn't a movie, and I wasn't thinking clearly. Our basement is unfinished with exposed beams and concrete floors. A single bulb lights the stairwell, and I had to pull the chain to turn it on before descending. The light cast more shadows than illumination, but I could see well enough to make it down safely. The circuit breaker is on the far wall. I crossed the basement, using my phone's flashlight to supplement the dim overhead bulb.